administration's goals are certainly strong in bringing jobs in and fairness on the trade balance and having the U.S. be independent for pharmaceuticals and defense and different things that we need. But blanket tariffs are not the way to do that, and that's why we're opposed to it.
Welcome back to the Owner's Journal here on Marathon Monday, April 21st, 2025. I wanted to provide the date on this one for context. There's a lot going on, not just here in Boston, but in the country and the world with navigating these tariffs, this tariff situation. One of the reasons why I have Steve Greenspon on here, the president and CEO. The CEO and founder, of Honey Can Do International. I am going to read strictly from his bio here on LinkedIn. You've been a multinational manufacturer, Steve, and distributor of consumer products for over 15 years with a mission to provide high quality, innovative, and affordable solutions for home storage, organization, garment care, and kitchen housewares. You have grown Honey Can Do from a startup to a global brand, serving customers in over 70 countries through major retailers, authorized distribution channels. You've also led the organization through high growth stages and turnaround situations, God bless you, led selection and conversion from Appian ERP situation to NetSuite and Softion. It looks like you've also built up the culture. You've created the culture with minimum voluntary turnover. I like that. Want to learn about that today, and safety as a key goal being a manufacturer. I'm sure that comes up quite a bit. Successfully recapitalized the company on several occasions. So let's start out welcoming Steve Greenspon to the Owner's Journal. I think I'd like to start with what you're most excited about today, Steve, potentially navigating these tariffs for the company. But what does the next few months look like for you and the future of Honey Can Do International?
Before we get there, Kurt, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to be on the podcast here. Truly an honor, and I greatly appreciate the invitation. So thank you.
My pleasure.
So with every challenge, I guess comes opportunity, and you have to look at it that way. And it's figuring it out that's the fun part for me, and figuring out the best way to navigate it. Tariffs are certainly top of mind for just about any company that brings products to the United States from any other country in the world, especially China, and especially the China alternative, so to speak, in Asia, Taiwan and Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, which is where a lot of the companies that have been pulling out of China for the last 7 or so years have been turning to, and seeing what happens there. You can't pivot. We're on a 90-day pause right now, but you can't pivot because you don't know what's going to happen to which country, with what timing, with what products, until it's announced. And even then, things change so rapidly with the administration that it's just hard to decide how you should pivot. And with these pivots, it takes time to do that, and it's significant investments, anywhere from hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars if you're setting up a new facility. And the one option for the vast overwhelming majority of these products is that you cannot move them to the United States. The infrastructure, the labor capacity, the regulations just don't make it feasible to make many of these low-priced household durables in the United States. So everybody's pivoting, seeing what happens. And so I remember having a conversation with somebody, and they're like, "Well, all of your competitors are in the same situation, so it's not that big a deal." But the issue isn't our competitors. We can certainly deal with that and try to do things better than them. But the issue is that when these prices go up, the demand drops and the market shrinks significantly. And you can't forecast, and the only option for survival is to just cut your expenses as the volume goes down, and that's not good for anybody. The major pivot that's consistent right now is that Nobody is adding expenses, so there's no hiring going on for these types of products. People are cutting expenses. There's no raises, there's no bonuses. People are cutting out anything that's not essential, such as software services. They're cutting out their capital expenditures, so they're not buying forklifts or new software programs or different things that help the economy here in the US. Because of the uncertainty, everything is on hold. And that's just something that flows to our company's suppliers because they're not getting business, they're not getting new business, and they're losing existing business. And then it flows to the employees who are seeing this uncertainty. They know they're not getting raises, they're concerned about their jobs, they're certainly not getting bonuses, and they stop their spending at the consumer level. So it's just this big spiral that seems to be going on right now that we can hopefully solve soon with some clarity on the situation. And sorry for this long answer, Kurt, but one more
All
thing.
right. I'm waiting for the silver lining, the Steve Greenspon silver lining, and the pony in the situation. Where's that?
So give me 30 more seconds and I'll get to that.
Okay.
The administration's goals are certainly strong in bringing jobs in and fairness on the trade balance and having the U.S. be independent for pharmaceuticals and defense and different things that we need. But blanket tariffs are not the way to do that, and that's why we're opposed to it. The silver lining is that we hope that this is a negotiation and that this is kind of putting the hammer down in order to get a lot of things that are going to be beneficial to small and medium-sized business owners in the long run, and that this setback is temporary. As an example, the de minimis tariff situation that was outlawed. What a huge release of a loophole that is for small and medium business owners. And for your listeners that aren't as familiar with it, it allows shipments of under a certain dollar value. I believe it's somewhere in the $800 range to come into the United States without going through the same safety protocols and inspections and paying tariffs, which is the big thing that legitimate U.S. companies need to pay in order to bring in our containers of product. So you have these one-off shipments. If your listeners or consumers have ever ordered anything off of, I'll use names if you don't mind, Temu or Shein or Wish or some of the others, where it just comes directly to them from China primarily. Those come in without going through any of the United States regulations or safety protocols and without having to pay tariffs. So it's a loophole that's been allowed to exist for decades and decades. Now that goes away, and that evens the playing field for everybody. The other thing is that we're hoping that this might create an opportunity to sell products from U.S. brands in China, which today it's nearly impossible to do. You need to have an investor from China involved in your company in order to sell there. It's very, very difficult to sell within China. Sorry, a bird just hit my window. Sorry about that, Kurt. Your intellectual property protection is greatly diminished. And there's just all sorts of things that get in the way. It's a lot more difficult for a U.S. company to do business there than it is for a Chinese company to do business in the U.S. So we're hopeful that that's going to even out the playing field as a result of this situation. And hopefully be able to open up things. And we're certainly in favor of ways to be able to manufacture products in the U.S., but that's just not in the cards today. So, there's always opportunities, and it's just a matter of finding them. The other point is, and I hate to call this an opportunity, but a lot of the weaker players in a lot of different categories are probably going to go away as a result of this, because unless you're well capitalized, unless you have a good team in place, unless you've got very strong processes and systems, I have a feeling that the next pickup period of time, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, whatever it is going to have a lot of challenges. So for good companies, it creates market opportunities out there. But unfortunately, if you're kind of a company that's maybe on the edge a little bit, you need to make some quick changes in order to survive this next period of time, because buckle up, it's going to be a challenge within this
All right.
category.
What a synopsis of what's happening in I think really manufacturing and global business. What you said probably applies to every small business to some degree, right? The trickle down, the effect of, for everyone, but specifically to yours, it's a big deal. But let's talk about some positive things like your culture. One of the things I noticed in your profile and when speaking with you is, you've had minimal turnover at your company. That speaks to, the belief system that culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? The old Peter Drucker adage, culture eats strategy for breakfast. You've created a company culture there, minimum turnover, voluntary turnover, focus on safety. What do you think you'd like to see as the year progresses in terms of what you can control about your company culture? And some of the things that you'd like to see them continue that you've built over the years. And I'm asking you that for a specific reason we'll get to on the next question.
You know what's interesting that I've learned is that you can create a very, very strong culture without spending a lot of money. And that's you read the books or you look at other companies and like, oh yeah, you need to pay at the high end of the scale, and you need unlimited days off, and you need
Right.
a game room and free coffee and snacks and all of these things that add to your expenses. And those are nice, and I'm not downplaying any of that. What we found, and you certainly have to have a competitive salary. You need to have competitive benefits. That's kind of the floor there, because in many ways that just shows it's a sign of respect to your employees. It's not so much that they prefer this health plan over another plan, but they just want to feel valued and respected, and that's where
Table stakes for letting them know that you're not a sweatshop, essentially. Sorry to be so blunt, but
yeah, exactly. And to that point, we a lot of companies will give a half day on the eves here in the United States, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. And the reality is not a lot gets done on those days if the employees ever come in, if they do come in and work for on those days. So you're not really giving too much up in order to just say, we're considering them a holiday, take the day off. Same thing with the Friday after Thanksgiving as well, unless you're specifically in retail or something where you need to be working, that day or those other days, or entertainment or whatever. But we found you don't give too much up by giving up those 3 days and taking them off, but it makes your team feel so much more respected and
for sure.
and thankful that you give that up. Primarily, though, it's who they work with is the feedback that I've gotten is people want to work with people that respect those around them and those with whom they work, that want to do a good job, that are smart and capable and responsive and transparent. And it's good people want to work with good people and learn from good people and be on a team with good people. And with nice people is just as important or more important than that as well. And often being a good teammate goes hand in hand with being a nice person and a respectful person.
Mm-hmm.
So really the culture starts with the hiring process and who we bring into the company and who we give the honor of working with all of these other great people that we have here. So when we go through it, and it doesn't matter what the role is, whether you're a vice president or a C-level, or whether you're driving a forklift, and the forklift drivers are certainly our most among our most treasured team members.
Mm-hmm.
But you go through a fairly extensive process, and it's not just about your capabilities and your background and your experience, but we also have team members involved in the interview process to give their feedback of, is this somebody that I can work with? Is this somebody that I'm excited about working with? Is this somebody that I feel will help me as a person? grow and be better and will support my role in the company and where I'll be happy to help them with their role in the company. And it just and it's just having the right people in the company is such a big part of the culture.
I like it.
Yep.
I would
And then
summarize that as, this someone that I can stand looking at and talking to every single day, and can they
that's
do likewise with me?
that's
Are we
exactly
having a
right.
conversation here, and they're listening and waiting for their chance to talk, and the whole nine. I think I'll tell you, the interview process is not perfect, and even if you do have a great interview, and there are professional interviewers, right? People that are really good at telling Steve Greenspon what he wants to hear,
Absolutely.
based on doing some research on his podcast, or the things that he said. But I like the idea that you have multiple people, multiple touch points interviewing your employees before they get hired, because they might jump through the first two, but maybe not the second or third.
Exactly.
And it's good to
And
get
then
multiple perspectives on your people. So you're
absolutely.
looking for what? Character? You're looking for traits of, character traits, not just, all right, they're going to make me money.
Yeah. Oh gosh, if that were the only criteria, it'd be in big trouble. But yeah, um, it's yeah, it's about one, the capabilities. That's you start with that. Are they able to do the job? Are they bringing strong experience to the job? Are they going to help the company be better at this role that they're doing? But then just as important is how they fit in with the rest of the company, because one person can hurt a culture pretty bad. And it's you could have 99 good people, but that one person who's not fulfilling their obligation of being a good partner, it can really change things quickly. And then other people might not try as hard because they see what's being tolerated there. So it's so important. And then if heaven forbid somebody gets through the process and and these are all good people, and I don't want to imply otherwise, but just not a fit for our culture. If for some reason they come into our company and then they don't fit, be respectful, but you make changes quickly before it becomes pervasive.
Can you give us an example of that? I love that, the fact that you mentioned tolerating a bad apple or a bad behavior, because there's a question coming up, but I'm riffing for now for a minute on tolerating bad behavior. That's your culture. If you tolerate bad behavior, that's your culture, right?
Absolutely.
So you're saying, all right, we find someone that is not aspiring to the beliefs and the mission of this company. We nip it in the bud right away, and we quickly show that person either the door or another role, because we'll give them a chance that maybe they're just not in the right role, right? So the question here is, give us an example. All right, you took someone through the hiring process, they were saying all the right things, but then you found out 3-4 months later, whoops, they're very good at interviewing, they're just not a good fit for this.
Exactly. So, of course, you have internal conversations saying, and our head of HR is exceptional at this. Is staying in communication with people, even with a remote environment. As a company, or the supervisor, the head of HR, myself, we're in touch with folks very regularly, and we know what's going on there. If somebody's not a fit, of course there's conversations. Are they happy? What's going on with them? Are there things going on with them that might prevent them from being a good team member at this point in time that's going to change? We communicate consistently on, if there's areas where the expectations are different from the performance, then that's communicated. And how can we help you with this situation, whatever, that might be, where they're not meeting expectations. And then fairly quickly, as an employer, you know whether or not this is going to be a long-term not fit, or whether things are going to change. And at that point, you be respectful. You have a conversation either in person or a set scheduled meeting by Teams or Zoom, and you have the conversation, communicate with them that it hasn't worked out. We always give a severance when there's a separation. And unless there was something egregious going on, we provide a positive recommendation. We will make introductions to headhunters and search firms or staffing firms with whom we have strong relationships with, and
That's
make sure
impressive.
that we do our best to put them on their way. Because one is we're not that big of a company. At our peak, maybe we had 200 employees or so, but and I could tell you everybody that's ever worked for our company, and that's something that I'm proud of. But these are my colleagues and my team members, so why wouldn't I know who they are?
Right.
The But to them, this is a monstrous thing with separating from your job. And we don't lose sight of that, that for us, oh, we have to fill this position and we'll find somebody and that'll be great. For this other person, presumably they're going to find another role that they're going to be a better fit in and they'll be happy. But for this temporary point in time when somebody is losing their role, this is this has the potential to be a devastating piece of news to them. And we want to make sure that we're just respectful in that regard.
Wow, that says a lot about you and your culture. Not every company does what you're doing, what you're talking about doing right now. A lot of companies say they'd like to do it, but they don't do it, right?
The other part of it is this person has colleagues that are still with the company. And, from one is you be respectful to be respectful. But the other thing is we don't want former team members to be telling current team members that, oh my gosh, those people are jerks. They shoved me out the door. They blah, blah, blah. So there is I don't want to say a selfish part of it, but there is a culture part of that as well, that it all ties together. And we want everybody in the company to know that we're respectful on your first day and your last day and every day in between.
Yeah. I could go on this topic for a while. I really like this topic. But I don't want to stay on it all for the whole interview. I do want to ask about, you're in a very big office right there, right? There's a big space behind you, lots of desks, lots of fun looking things. But at the same time, we just came out of COVID. It was a remote environment. It still, in some cases, still looks like it's a remote environment there. How do you build culture in a remote environment, especially when you spend all this money on a big office and a big space and thinking, all right, we're all going to play ping pong on our breaks. How do you build that in 2025, in your opinion?
You know what? I'm an extrovert. And when I started the company 18 years ago now, one of the things that I have been really looking forward to is having a team and going someplace and being around people and being around good people, being around people that I want to hang out with and going to lunches and talking about what we did over the weekend and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I miss that horribly since the pandemic, and it's been 5 years now since we sent people home here, after the pandemic to work remotely. When we came out of the pandemic, one is things were running well and moving forward, and we gave folks the option to come back. And I was hoping that people would choose to come back, but you get kind of comfy working from home. And in some cases, folks are maybe more productive because they don't have the drive time. And you always miss the communication. There's no question that we've made mistakes or not been as fruitful on certain things because we don't have that casual conversation between departments and interdepartments and colleagues, and see what's happening in the warehouse and seeing the new products that we bring in and all those things that you can only do when you're in person. And we, so in that regard, it's been a challenge. Also, like many housewares companies, products, companies with household products, household durables, business has not been good post-pandemic. So we haven't been as able to give the bonuses and the raises that we'd like to normally give, and we haven't been able to increase our benefits as we have. But one of the benefits that people seem to enjoy and that have been able to help us maintain our good employees is the option to work from home. So we've kept that for that reason as well. It's in terms of culture, we do the same things. We have the monthly meeting talking about the high level things, provide a Q&A period. We certainly continue with keeping good people here as team members. We have an annual holiday party. We have opportunities to have lunches and get people together. And obviously operate as strong a company as we can as part of that as well. But there's no question that you miss a big part of the culture by working remotely.
Yeah. How do you, I guess what I would say this, if you can't see them face to face, give them face to face feedback every single day, right? And you miss that, in my opinion, key part of building teams. How do you let your team know that you're there to help enrich their lives? Like, what do you do outside of just the pride someone takes in their job, right? Or getting the safety down to, I know it's safety in manufacturing, especially forklifts, is like no injuries for this many days. How do you celebrate those wins and I guess give your team members, and I always talk about employees and coworkers as team members, a sense of, well, this company is going to enrich my life. It's giving me the opportunity to enrich my life, not just with money, but with growth.
Right. It's funny. So our warehouse, what an exceptional group of individuals there. And they see, and we publicize the investments in safety and make a big deal out of it.
Mm-hmm.
We have not had an incident where somebody has lost time due to an injury here at the workplace in, I think it's going on 7 years. It was well before the pandemic. And we update, there's a board that gets updated every day where we add a business day to it. We invest in, it's a nothing investment, but all of our, it's little things. All of our forklifts have a blue light that sticks out, 20 feet to the front and the back, to make sure that people, if they're coming out of an aisle, that they know that there's a forklift coming. We have mirrors on, at the ends of every single aisle, and folks are trained. We obviously certify anybody that's operating any sort of power equipment as a minimum. And make sure that things are done the appropriate way and the safe way, even if it adds a little bit of step to the process. Selfishly, it saves time in the long run and saves expenses in the long run if people aren't getting injured. But we have, whenever we reach a big milestone, we'll have a big lunch party in the warehouse. And a little discussion on what we're going to have. Is it going to be tacos or chicken or Chinese or whatever? And that's a fun thing. When we reached, I want to say it was maybe 1,000 business days, we had T-shirts printed that the team wears and everything. And it's just a huge part of our environment.
I think that's important. I think recognition, spontaneous, early, often. It doesn't have to be a formal thing or an event, right?
Yep.
The more of this spontaneous recognition in these, just recognizing someone for doing something great that you would want as part of your culture, is much more powerful than hey, all right, mandatory fun this Friday, mandatory fun. It's or it's Taco Tuesday. Taco Tuesday is the best. Everybody likes Taco Tuesday. Those can kind of in some cases just kind of wear down a culture, right? If everything's so formal, at least that's my belief system. It sounds like you kind of share the same thing.
Absolutely, Kurt. It's funny because at a lot of companies, heaven forbid if there's an injury, that becomes the big news, and you never hear anything about it until something bad happens. And we try to, and obviously there's always room for improvement, but by gosh, we went a day, a week, a month, a quarter with no injuries. Let's make sure that the world knows about that. Let's send out a congratulations. Let's pat everybody on the back. Let's do what we need to do. in order to make sure that we recognize that that's not an easy thing, in a warehouse with so many people and so many forklifts and
Yeah.
opportunities for injury. Let's shout it to the world and congratulate everybody on that.
I have a question. How many employees do you have right now
So right now, in the warehouse, there's roughly about 25 people there.
in the warehouse?
Yeah.
Total employees, though.
Total employees right now, we're off our peak. We've got about I'm going to say about 45 employees in the whole company.
And at your peak, you were close to 200.
200 exactly. Yeah, that was during the pandemic. Uh,
What advice would you give? So they say you read the book Tribal Leadership. Anytime you have 20 to 150 people, that's a tribe, right?
yep.
It's no longer a team, it's a tribe. What would you say to a new CEO taking over a team like this, right? What advice would you give to that person that you wish you had 15, 20 years ago when you founded this company?
So I would say make sure that you take time to talk to everybody on the team and learn what they do and how they do it. Because there's always opportunities to learn from every member of the team, as well as opportunities to share your experience to members of the team. So, for instance, you might find you might be talking to somebody who is unloading trucks, and in a great example, they've got the process down, and they've got a safety weight belt on to prevent injuries, and they're able to stack things on a pallet quickly and efficiently and consistently. And then you might have 8 other people doing the same role who aren't doing it in the same manner and not as efficient.
Mhm.
So, gosh, what an opportunity to take somebody that's here on your team and have them spread their knowledge to help the company and help their team members as well to learn. And of course, it goes both ways. Um, if a CEO may have experience with doing a certain role in the company, or may have seen it done a certain way in a different role through experience, or been at a seminar or something else, and they can share their experience with helping that person be better at their role as well. And also you find out where the problems are. In your board meeting or in your leadership meeting, people aren't going to tell you about you know things that you may not want to hear, or bring up little things that might be big opportunities because they don't feel it's important enough, or there's just not enough time in your scheduled meeting in order to discuss it. But when you're talking to employees, you can find out very, very quickly where the pain points are, and hopefully many of these are low-hanging fruit in order to make a substantive difference within your company.
I agree. I think a company your size, this size, 45 employees, that's the benefit of having a small company is you may have time to reach out to each one of those employees.
Yep.
If you have 2,000 employees, not sure you're going to get through that in a year with the rest of your agenda and your schedule as a CEO. But with 45, you can do it. Making a point to do it, I think, is the advice I'm hearing from you to the new CEO of a company like this. I guess the challenge I would say, or what I would pose to that CEO, and you would do the same, is how do you make sure you're not intimidating that employee, right? You're the CEO. Let me hop in the forklift with you today, or let's have lunch, and they're like, I don't know what to say, I'm nervous. I don't want to say the wrong thing. How do you kind of take down that barrier, or take down that level of anxiety, I guess, with employees if the whole goal is to find best practices and make everybody better.
It's a fair point. One is you smile, and you try to make everybody feel that you're a part of the team, and not that you're the CEO of the team, but you're
Right.
on the team. Obviously there is a chain, and your strategy needs to be followed, and your guidance needs to be adhered to. At the same time, though, you need to be approachable. I made it a point almost every day when I would come into the building. We've got a front entrance and a warehouse entrance. And as often as I could, I would enter and leave through the warehouse entrance or exit, and just make sure that I'm visible and I say hi to people and I ask them about their weekend or about their child or their spouse or something that I'm aware of that's happening in their life. And I would make it a point. I would have on my calendar every single employee's birthday or their anniversary and send out an email, as a touch point, as an opportunity to communicate with that person. Or for most of our warehouse people that don't have emails with the company, is I would find them and shake their hand and wish them a happy anniversary or happy birthday or whatever, um, and talk to them about it just as a touch point and to make sure that you're approachable. So that way, when you're asking them, hey, is there anything that I should know about? Are there things standing in your way of being as successful as you can be? Then they're more comfortable telling you, like, hey, I hate to bring this up, but my forklift breaks down every 2 weeks. They can't diagnose the issue, or they say it's because of this, but my boss says that we don't want to pay for the repair or whatever it is. And when I say that, I'm thinking you don't want to break the chain of command, but as a CEO in a small and medium-sized business, you also need to kind of know when to step in and find a tactful way to ensure that the company is performing as well as it can.
I love it. I love it. Smile. What I heard there was the most important part for me. Smile,
Yeah,
smile, and be approachable, right? I mean, it blows my mind, right? Some of the owners that I meet and the CEOs yeah, I mean, it's businesses. You feel like you're at war some days, right? And you're the only
yeah,
one that can kind of like save the company from defeat. And you can let that get to your head, and you can become very serious with how you approach every person and every challenge. But you can't let that you can't let that get into your interactions with your employees and your
yeah,
people, or
absolutely.
it can send the wrong message, right?
No question, no question. Yeah, and it's a balance of you want to be optimistic, you want to tell people things are going to be better, and you need to balance that with also being realistic and sharing when there are challenges as well. So, but certainly from a personal level and a cultural level, it doesn't cost anything to smile and be nice and respectful to people.
I have a couple questions before we close today. The first one I like to talk about hitting the lottery. How about this is a new question on the Owner's Journal, but I think it's appropriate, and I'm hoping you can freely answer it. If
Yeah.
you were handed $10 million today to spend on this business however you wanted, how would you go about investing that money?
And it's a great question. Any other day except for a few weeks after Liberation Day. So with the current environment and the uncertainty out there, I would advise folks in my category, in my industry, for my company, take that money and stick it in the bank because you don't know how to pivot. You don't know if you should be moving your supply chain. You don't know if you should be investing in new systems or new processes or new tooling. And that you might want to pivot your company. And if you're in imported products today, you might want to say, you know what, can I get into some sort of service where we don't need to be so reliant on Asian manufacturing, or should I be changing my product categories to things that are more feasible to be manufactured in the United States where we don't have to worry about these issues? So I love the question. It's hard to answer right now, except to say, you know what, save it for a rainy day, and by gosh, it's drizzling out right now, and there's some dark clouds on the horizon that you hope are gonna pass by us without too much damage. But right now is a good time to save for that rainy day.
I'll ask it a variation on the question in a different way. You had your magic wand, you could get either capital, invest in people, or get more time, get a time machine, right? Which one of those threes would you which one of those three would you value the most?
Well, boy, with the time machine, you have the option to go back and change your mistakes. So that's invaluable.
Yeah.
Um, that's it's a common phrase like I made a mistake, but I learned from it. I'm never going to do it again. And every time that I feel like I'm the smartest person in the world, I find a way to make a new mistake that I never thought of before. So the time machine to zig instead of zag is absolutely invaluable. Um, in terms of capital, you can't have a you can't have a functioning company without liquidity.
Right.
And no matter what your revenues are and your EBITDA and everything else, without liquidity, you're toast. And of course, without the people to be able to carry out the vision, it's not much of a company either. Um, People, and I hate to phrase it this way because good people are worth their weight in gold, but it's easier to replace people. And you're always going to find somebody that is going to fit your culture, that's going to be able to do the job. And we've been very fortunate when we've lost very, very valuable people, we've been able to replace them with somebody who's been able to take us in a new direction and a strong
Okay.
direction. So, and I don't say that to diminish anybody that's ever been with our company because they've all been fantastic. Um,
So I'm going to
with
summarize.
exceptions. But
I'm going to summarize what I heard, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Time
and I
machine.
apologize for the non-answers, Kurt, but I'm kind of ripping here. So,
It's okay. This is what I do. I try to tell you what I heard and think
yep,
about and tell you what I think about what I heard.
love it.
Um, and then confirm what I heard. But what I heard, that time machine would be the time machine to undo the biggest mistakes you made in the business would be absolutely number one.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, when I look back at things that have impacted the business in a negative way, you can always point to outside factors that are outside of your control, but a number of times it's been kind of I've been my own worst enemy in some regards. So yes, the time machine would be would be a very, very handy piece.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I have a feeling I don't ask that question a lot. I'm going to start asking it because I find the answers very, very interesting. And I have a
It's a good
feeling
question.
everyone's going to give the same answer.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Um, what's next for you? We have a few minutes to go in the interview, but what's next for you? I think you have some as of April 21st, right? There's a lot going on, right? There's an announcement that you recently made. What's next?
So yeah, so as you alluded to, I sold the company earlier this year, 100% of it. So I'm excited. I'm helping with the transition right now. Haven't finalized my what I'm going to do next. I'm talking to a lot of folks about consulting roles and board roles and different things and relocation. And I have not been this excited for the future in a long, long time. I'm excited for the folks that are going to continue with Honey Can Do, and for those that have the opportunity to pursue other things as well. I'm excited for them. The answer is I'm looking forward to exploring it and looking at new things. The advice that my 19-year-old son gave me that I'm going to take to heart is you know what, Dad? Whatever you do something for yourself, make it something enjoyable.
Hmm.
It doesn't need to be in the consumer goods industry. But just do something for yourself. And he threw in there a comment that the last couple of years have been challenging. I haven't been as happy as I have been in the past. And he said, just do something to make you happy, and put any other goals aside. Everything else is okay.
I'm
So good
thinking a
advice.
vacation is coming your way and probably overdue. So hey, Steve, it was great to meet you. Thanks for coming on the Owner's Journal today. Let us do this again when you know that you're in another great spot. I think the sky's the limit for someone with your experience. consulting would be an easy avenue for you to get into with all the different times you've had to transform this company and redo the ERP and all that stuff. But running a company as well as CEO, you certainly have what it takes from what I'm hearing today, and some great lessons learned. So thanks again.
Thank you, Kurt. It's been a true pleasure. I really appreciate this. Thank you.